All right, bang. Today's Thursday. It's July 27th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. I'm here in studio. I'm joined by Mitch Rosen. Mitch Rosen, you have a bunch of titles now. I know you as a 670 The Score program director. But if there's more things you'd like to add in, I'd be happy to let you do it. However, thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk to you.
It's a pleasure, Eddie. I think you and I have known each other for a while, and a lot of the Barstool Chicago guys, and very respectful of the brand and what you guys have built and continue to build on, and impressive of the studios here. I know you guys are moving soon, but happy to be here. And my titles, in this day and age, I don't know what titles mean, but
you're adding a bunch of them, huh?
Yeah, but it's to me, it's about working with people, and it's all about the people, managing people, and working with great people every day.
Hey, before we really get cooking here, I want to talk about RHOBACK Activewear. You guys know the drill by now. I got the beautiful dog logo hat right here. I got the performance polo here. And, of course, I got the performance hoodie right here. Listen, we're all a big fan of RHOBACK. It's what we wear. Best fit, best feel. Be on the lookout for the new polos all summer. I just showed you one, the 3121. Obviously, my favorite being a Chicago guy. But RHOBACK has a bunch of great looks, bunch of great designs. If you want to just go check out on their website, you'll definitely find something that you like. I guarantee it. Besides everything that I just mentioned, they also got the Performance Q-Zips, which are very soft, perfect for a night out in the town, an early morning walk, or a quick round on the course, and they're incredibly versatile. All this stuff's versatile. It really is. It's one of those things you really got to see it to believe it. So I could talk to you about it until I'm blue in the face, but just trust me. Maybe start with one item. Just see how you like it, and I promise you that you will. So I'd suggest the hoodie maybe, though. The hoodie is like unlike any other hoodie I've ever really had. So go check that out at RHOBACK.com. Use code DOG on RHOBACK.com for 20% off. All new customers will get that discount through the end of the week. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all hoodies, joggers, and polos with code DOG. It's that simple. I will note, RHOBACK usually cuts these promo codes off at the end of the week, so I'd act fast. Do it today. Do it tomorrow. Just make sure you're on it. RHOBACK, thank you. Great stuff. Go check it out. All right, let's get back into the episode. Yeah, and so for some context here, for people that don't really know, we got a big national following. So Mitch, the station he runs is, I still call it the CBS radio affiliate, but it's been since purchased a couple times. But it's with WFAN, and then what's the Boston one? It's Felger and Maz, right?
Actually, WEEI in Boston, WIP in Philly.
Got you. Okay.
FAN, like you said, in New York, same group. So we were CBS Radio for a number of years. Then a company, Intercom, purchased it, and we just rebranded to Odyssey. So today it's Odyssey, and great company to work for, big investments in sports, local. It's all about, local content. And, at the end of the day, we mostly talk about Chicago sports here in Chicago, whether it's the Bears, the Cubs, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the White Sox. And what I've liked to say over the years, and a lot of people make fun of me, is we play the hits. Whatever the hits are and whatever the fans want to talk about, whatever the hits of the day are, is what our on-air hosts and producers and listeners like to talk about. We play the hits.
Is that totally the case, though? I have other questions, but since we're on that now, we'll get into that. Everyone says this town's a blank town. It's a blank town. Everyone says Chicago, it's a Bears town. Is that a fact? Like you say, you play the hits. However, you got to get to the Bears. Is that fact?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you could talk Bears 12 months a year. It's that popular in this town. I think if you prioritized, in Chicago, what people want to talk about, Bears are always a hit. And then it also depends on who's winning and, where the storylines are. Look what's happened recently at Northwestern. On our brand, different shows, it's really taken off on the controversy at Northwestern. With our, show with Bernstein and Lawrence Holmes and Layla Rahimi, they've jumped on that rightfully so and really torn across the press conferences and the controversy. So it's what, has become the hits of the day. So, yes, you could talk Bears 12 months a year, and you could talk if the White Sox are winning, you talk White Sox and Cubs, but you get a pulse of what, the fans really want to talk about.
So given that, 1 through 5, all teams are kind of at the same pace. Mm-hmm. How would you say based on what you see and what people want to hear?
Sure. Bears, Cubs, Bulls.
Long pause there. Was that intentional?
Bulls, White Sox, Blackhawks.
Okay.
Right there.
That's about what I expected.
Is that what you would guess coming in?
I want to say we did it last week, and that's legitimately what we said.
Yeah, I think so. I still think baseball-wise, people say, what is it, Cubs or Sox? I still think fan base, Chicagoland, not just downtown, but suburbs for the people watching and listening nationally. You just don't talk Chicago like inner city. It's a huge metropolitan area with suburbs and things like that. My hunch, and this isn't based on research, it's 65%-ish a Cubs fan base. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. I think that's.
And then White Sox, but like when the White Sox won in 2005, I think it picked up younger fans, and they've stuck with the team, most of them. But I think it's a 65%-ish fan base on Cubs. Because I think it started with the Superstation and all that, BS throughout the years.
I wonder how the trajectory of that's going to go in years and years and years now that they're not on WGN,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think it matters. I think it's the Cubs brand. I think people find, I'm a firm believer, they find good content no matter how they find it. So they can find it on over-the-air radio. They can find it on our Odyssey app with Marquee. They could find it on cable. There's word, that Marquee is going to go direct to consumer, so they'll find it there. I truly believe consumers are smart, and they'll find it, wherever, it's available, good content, and if they're fans, they'll find it where they want to find it.
I totally agree with that. I mean, as far as like the fan demographic goes, is it a stretch for me to say? I mean, California, obviously, it's a Lakers state. Is it a stretch to say like it could become a Warrior state because of how good they've been and the next generation and whatnot? I don't know. I'm just thinking if the White Sox really did turn it around with what this was supposed to be, it just makes you think about how much could change.
It could be, but let's compare it to the Cubs. I think the Cubs are so historic, and people talk my father, my grandfather. I think it's almost hereditary in a fun way, that it's carried down genetically in a good way, that Cubs fandom is brought down. I don't know if it's the same with White Sox, and I think how they've been playing and the different storylines. I think some people, I don't think it follows generationally like Cub fans do.
Yeah, no, I hear that for sure. Now, okay, we'll reverse it a little bit. So you've been in the business how many years?
Long time. 1988, I started at WGN Radio as an intern, and then was hired after that. It was kind of weird, intern. I had graduated college and then was hired as an intern. Usually, you intern and then you graduate. So I was very fortunate. I grew up in Skokie. I've been here my whole career. Short time in New York, midway through, like 96, 97. But fortunate, grew up in Skokie in a business that I dreamed about working in. Radio geek, radio under the pillow, the whole 9 yards, and listen to WGN Radio, this overnight guy, a guy named Eddie Schwartz, who was like an institution in Chicago.
Oh, he killed the ratings too.
Yeah,
right?
It was like a 20 share.
Yeah.
And dating myself, I wrote him a letter. Like, I'd like to come visit the studio, and no cell phones, no email. One day, the phone rang at the house, and my mom yelled, my dead mother only when I was in trouble, "Mitchell, phone for you." And it was him. And he said, why don't you, he had a real high-pitched voice. Stephen Gary used to make fun of him.
Yeah.
And why don't you come down to the studio and visit me? And his GN used to be on Bradley Place, where TV is now, on the northwest side of the city. And I went down and I fell in love with radio. And then circa, like 2, 3, 4 years later, when I was out of college, my first full-time job was his producer, overnight producer.
Oh, okay. So you got in, and that's such a classic first job, overnight producer, right?
Unbelievable. $12,500 a year full-time salary.
Wow. That's awesome. And it's kind of cool. Do you feel like that's given you an advantage because you've done the grind that everybody has done?
I look back on it, it was the greatest in my career. It's where I learned the most and where I appreciate producers. I meet with producers every day. I still consider myself a producer. I look for stories in the morning, I talk to producers, and a lot of times they'll come in, what do you think of this? Or who should we chase on this, guest-wise? I still look at myself as a producer. I love that kind of stuff. I fond memories of that. But that was some of the best time in my career.
Yeah, it's just a different. You're looking local alderman's bet for him, right? And then now you're looking for
Do I have time for a quick story about Eddie? So Eddie was this classic overnight guy. And then we eventually moved to the Tribune Tower, and they used to drop off newspapers like at midnight, 1 a.m. The Tribune and the Sun-Times, and one of my jobs was to go get it and bring it to him. And the first thing he would look at would be the obituaries. And there was this famous alderman in the first ward, Vito Marzullo. And Eddie looked at the obituaries, and it's probably about 12:30 a.m., and he reads an obituary. He's very sad. He goes, "I have very sad news. Alderman Vito Marzullo has passed away." And he's reading the obituary, and the call-in line rings. I go, "WGN, this is Marzullo. Let me talk to Schwartz." I said, "Please don't kid around." Eddie's reading "This is him." So I say in Eddie's IFB, and I go, "Hey, this guy says he's Marzullo." And Eddie goes, "We're going to take a quick break. I got to take this call. I'll be right back." And he plays commercials. He talks to him in queue off the air, and it's him. They had made a mistake. Another Vito Marzullo had died, and the funeral home or whatever gave him the wrong name. So he comes back on there. "You're not going to believe this, everybody. I have the real Vito Marzullo on the air." It was a mistake. So could you imagine laying in bed, 12:30, and you're hearing your own obituary, and you're alive? So those are the kind of overnight radio things that just blow me away.
Yeah, there was probably someone in that ward who was listening. Was like, "Oh, I might try to hop in, get this seat."
right.
So, and then his news was crushed a half hour later. That's pretty unbelievable. It's wild that obituaries were the way that people found out too. For the record,
correct.
Just for that. That's crazy.
So fun.
So all right, overnights at GN, and then do you just work your way up?
Yeah, I was. So Eddie. Did great ratings at GN. His contract was up, and he never told me the possibilities. He had an agent in town, and the agent was working, trying to get him in another station. And the real hip station time was the Loop. Stephen Gary, Brandmeier, Kevin Matthews. And I never had pictured that was a possibility. In my head, he was going to WLS. Political talk, and there were rumors that they were going to try to improve their ratings. So Eddie said, "Wherever I'm going, you're coming with." And I was young, making hardly any money. I said, "Sure." So one day he calls me. He says, "We're going somewhere." I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "We're going to the Loop." I said, "The Loop?" And I grew up listening to Stephen Gary and Brahma. I had never thought we're in a million years. So I was like in the trade. I was a player to be named later. So here we go. We're going to the Loop. And now background. This radio station, The Loop, for years, Stephen Gary made fun of Eddie. Eddie was very, very heavy, 500-600 pounds heavy, huge. Kevin Matthews had a band called Ed Zeppelin and did parody songs like Nights at White Castle and made fun of Eddie. So we're going to this station. First of all, it was a cool hip station, talk-wise, and it was a station that made fun of Eddie over the years. So we're going to this station, and he goes, "You're part of it," and I got, for that time, a huge raise. I think I was up to $24,000 a year. So we go to the Loop, and that was my next job where I stayed at for many years, and it was great. And going to the Loop was a dream job, and it really put me in the next phase of my career and worked for guys like Larry Wirt and Jimmy DeCastro, icons in the industry, and just unbelievably a great move for me.
So that's like 90...
Yeah, 91-ish.
91?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there, and then you do that. You change, just different slot. You're still a producer.
Yeah, producer, and then got promoted and started producing Black Hawk Hockey and worked with Pat Foley and Dale Talon. Became friendly with them. Then I started producing Kevin Matthews. And again, a huge step forward. And he is another icon, genius in the industry, and loved working with him. And that was the next step in the career that will never be the same in my head in my life, working with somebody like him, a genius.
Yeah. Is he? Who's like your? What's your pantheon? What's your Chicago radio Mount Rushmore?
I would have to put Eddie, Kevin, guys like Mike North. You look at, in today's world too, there aren't performers. Those were improv. And I also think, sports radio, people don't really realize. They think, they put on the mic and go. you know, too, in sports radio, you watch games. You have to formulate opinions. Sports radio today, you're in the opinion business.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's perceptions that, just turn on the mic and talk for 4 hours. You have to do homework. And it's improv. There's no scripts in sports radio. I look at it as you're an opinionist. It's what columnists in newspapers used to be. Newspapers aren't what they were. So it's the opinion business. So I don't know, Mount Rushmore of, you know, in the media, in the audio, in the sports, or in radio.
You got one slot left.
Yeah.
There's only 4, Mitch. I know you want to put all your guys on.
Yeah, no, I would put the Score brand in it. You know,
Mitch.
boards. You know, I think, you know, looking back, besides North and McNeil, outstanding, Terry Boers, one of the founding fathers of the Score. He is really, I'd put him in the Mount Rushmore.
So no Dahl, huh?
Huh?
No Dahl, huh?
Dahl and Meyer as a team, but not individually.
Individual. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, take another quick break here. I want to talk to you guys about a new sponsor, and that's called Groove Life. Listen, I am guilty of having the Costanza wallet. I really am, and that's why I'm happy that the people over at Groove Wallets just sent me this nice little beautiful thing. And really, the reason why they sent this to me because it's 2023. And if you're still using the same wallet as 2003, I was very guilty of that. It would just, like, as soon as it would bust at the seams, I would go get a new one. So don't put yourself in this situation. Go buy your own and up your wallet game with Groove Life. The Groove Wallet is a sleek, low-profile wallet engineered for everyday use. One simple thumb motion perfectly fans out up to 6 cards for easy access to find everything you need. And with its durable, high-quality aluminum outer shell, this wallet is unlike any wallet I've ever seen. So, yeah, I'm excited to get cooking with this thing because it looks great, and I want to see all the, you know, little advantages and things that it'll help me with personally getting rid of the Costanza wallet. So they also just launched a new attachment, the Groove Wallet Go, and it's a perfect low-profile companion to your Groove Wallet for your iPhone 12, 13, or 14 that uses innovative micro suction technology to give you the ability to add another 3 cards plus cash. The wallet is so slim you can easily fit it in your front pocket and you'll barely know it's there. So it's time to bring your wallet into the 21st century. Head to groovelife.com/walk for 20% off all Groove Life products. That's the best offer you'll have, but you have to use my link groovelife.com/walk for 20% off your order. One last time, that's groovelife.com/walk for 20% off your order. Go check it out, guys. Stop using these outdated, bulky wallets. Go get yourself a Groove Life wallet. All right, let's hop back into the show. So then, when did you officially hop on with the Score? Inception was 92?
Yeah. So in 05, February of 05, I was contacted. I had been at WMVP, the direct competitor, for 9 years. And then I left for a year and went into the agent business and represented broadcasters like Neil Funk and Ed Farmer and Ozzy. I did work with them. And it was fun, but I missed the action. Like, there'd be a 1 or 2 days of heavy work and then a day or two be sitting around twiddling my thumbs. And I missed the action. The general manager at the Score at the time, a guy named Paul Agassi, great guy, called me and said, hey, we have an opening at the Score for a PD job. This was in February of 2005. And I said, yeah, let's talk. I missed the action. So it's interesting, you know, at MVP and then over to the Score. So I've been at the Score since February of 05.
What's the action you're mentioning? It's just competing versus looking at the ratings book and seeing where you stand, or what is it?
No, it's breaking news. It's, you know, a Bears story, a Cubs trade, a big major story, and working with our production guy, Russ Matera, who's one of the best in the business, and working on imaging, working with talent. Like I said, a big trade, working with sales on a big idea. That kind of stuff just excites me, still excites me to this day. Managing people, at the end of the day, people say, what do you do? I love managing people. I love working with people. I love going in every day and just, you know, talking to people, sitting in the office and BSing. Like, you know, today, Matt Spiegel did 3 Cubs games this weekend because Pat Hughes went in the Hall of Fame. To see the look in his eye when he came in my office and said, man, that was an unbelievable experience. That's the kind of stuff that turns me on, that I love making people happy.
Yeah, just kind of like the build in a sense. And
right.
Just something.
To me, it's all about the people. You know, if you're happy, if you like coming to work, if you leave here at the end of the day and go, I had a great effing day, that makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And I think that's a natural inclination as a human, right? Most people, I should say. Some people like to see others be miserable, though.
Yeah, but there are some people in this world that will never be happy.
You're right.
And you can do anything you want and they're just angry or don't like it. Screw them.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. So, as a program director, obviously the health of the station is completely on your shoulders. And would you agree on that?
Well, you try to do the best you can to have good ratings and create great content, work with everybody involved, and lead. As a leader, you have to lead in the right direction.
But you're putting together the lineup card, right? Like, is that solely your decision?
No, you have, listen, everybody has a boss at the end of the day, but you would hope it's your direction that you feel you have the best lineup in place. Yes.
Okay, so that's what you're doing. So you're sitting there like, I like this producer with this show. I think this guy will work better with this guy.
With input, especially with talent, you want to work with them. You try, and I've done it. I point a thumb and not a finger. Sometimes along the way, what I call is a blind date, right? A prearranged marriage. It doesn't always work.
Yeah. No, for sure. And as far as time slots, is there a certain thing that you look at for each slot? Like, what is it? It's like, I think he'd be good in the morning. Something about him speaks to a guy who's in his car driving to hop on the Bobcat for 8 hours. Is there a certain vibe or a certain thing that you look for when it comes to placing guys in certain time slots?
Not really. I wouldn't overthink it. You get a feel. I'm big on basics. Again, I think behind my back, some people make fun of it. It's all about energy. It's all about resetting. It's all about playing the hits. It's all about having the right guests at the right time. And to me, that's what makes great content. You can't overthink it. In this day and age, people 5 years ago, what business are you in? Well, I'm in the radio business. Today, just like you guys, we're in the content business. It's content distribution. It's video. It's all different social platforms. 3 weeks ago, Threads. What was Threads 3 weeks ago? Did you? I didn't know what the hell Threads was.
No,
now,
right.
Now Twitter now has an X through it, right? I mean, isn't that? So it's ever changing. You keep up with the times. So that's what it's all about. It's all about content. And like I said, a little while ago, great content, people are going to find you. They're hungry to find you. If they're huge fans of Eddie or of The Score, I'm confident that people find it. We're a standalone AM station in Middle America in Chicago, and confident. Our ratings continue to be good, and people listen and they watch and they like the content that we do. But in sports radio traditionally now, usually it's a strong FM signal. As we know, new cars, some of them don't even make AM radio anymore. So where do they find us? They find us on our app. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube. It's a new world.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. But I've always just been under the thought that this guy would play better in the mornings. He's a little older. He reaches the older crowd or something like that. So
yeah, no, I think again, it's just what works best. Along the way, here's an example. Lawrence Holmes and Dan Bernstein have been at the station both 20 plus years. They were never teamed together. It took someone putting in my ear. Have you ever thought to put those two together? No, I mean, me being an idiot, I never thought. You put them together, they've kicked ass. Great ratings, good content. And then Layla, who's a rock star, she's in not just on Wednesdays, but does fill in a big part of our station. And the combination has been, a grand slam.
Yeah,
so sometimes it takes someone going, have you ever thought of that? And it's huge.
Yeah, you're just a manager. You're a baseball manager. You're
Correct.
Just looking to tinker, and it sounds like stick to the basics. You're a guy you like to focus on your ground balls today, and go with the stories, play the hits. So
once in a while, you got to bring the fungo out.
Yeah, there you go. And I guess as far as what's the first thing you look for? You got an open slot. You're gonna listen to a few tapes. What's what are you focusing on?
Well, first and foremost, truthfully, nowadays, just a good person. I know it seems, where we want great content, but just kind of the no asshole rule. We want good people, and we have great people. Whether it's good producers and good people, and people that want. Again, it sounds cliche-ish, but people that want to win. We have a respectful brand, like you said. We've been on the air since January 2nd of 1992, and we want people that want to be involved with our brand. We're very fortunate that we have the Cubs and the Bulls, and Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night football, all the playoffs. So we feel it's a great brand. We can't be complacent, but that's what we look for, people that want to be part of it. It's not just, hey, I'll stay here a little bit and then go on to something. We want people that want to be part of our brand.
Yeah, that kind of grow with everything.
And we're proud of people that started out the score. Guys like Greeny at ESPN. At the Hall of Fame this weekend, Judd Surratt, who was an original producer, is now the voice of the Boston Bruins. So there's a lot of alumni that have come through the score that we're proud of, and proud that they started there and have done great over the years.
Wanting to win, you brought up a couple times. I'm a radio nerd as well. I should have disclosed that. Obviously, I did an internship at Howard.
Right.
Whatever. A radio war. What are you for that? Are you against that? It's good for business, but it gets a little ugly. What's your true feelings about a radio war?
Competition is great. A lot of the people at our competitor WMVP, I hired, and good people. Sylvie, Carmen, Danny Zetterman, who is their PD over there, worked for me. So good people, but when I wake them up in the morning, how can we kick their ass today? What better content can we bring? What better on-air imaging can we do? What can we do different and better? So, yeah, I'm a competitive motherfucker. Can I swear?
You could absolutely swear.
Yeah, I'm competitive, and I want our people to do things better and differently than our direct competitor.
Isn't it weird, though, how many guys we have that, I don't want to say bounce back and forth, but have worked for both, like yourself? I've always found that fascinating, how many guys. It's like, yeah, I worked there. It's like, loyalty, is it a thing?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. In this market, a lot of people that are over there used to work at the Score. I don't know how many people we have at our place that worked at MVP.
How many guys are at the station right now, total?
People, I don't know, 40, 50 employees.
40, 50, and probably the same over there.
Yeah, I don't know if they have that many.
Okay, so probably a little less. And I mean that's less than 100 slots for a very highly coveted job. So
no doubt.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah, part-time. We have part-time producers. We have analysts, whether it's Olin Kreutz or Stoney or Ozzy, and it adds up.
How hard is that, finding the right analyst that's a former athlete?
I mean, we spread it out. Someone like Stacey Dales, NFL Network, great. She's on Mully and Haw during the football season. Bringing Olin back, tremendous, we feel. Ozzy and Stoney, we still feel Stoney's one of the best in the business. And then, you go to the Cubs side, and, Parkins and Spiegel having Nico Horner on has been a great addition this year. So, he spread it out, and, Patrick Manley. So we try to get the best analysts that our audience loves, and the feedback has been great.
But we found that, at least at Barstool, that's really challenging to find the guys who are really still eager to do something. They've made their money. They've done their thing. They had a great career playing the actual game that we are talking about. So it's harder to find someone like that, right? It's harder to find a good past player.
Right, and over the years of my experience, and someone that's dependable and experienced. I mean, years and years ago, Albert Bell, I remember, was a huge free agent signing by the Whites. Let's get him. The first week he didn't show up. The second week he didn't show up. Third week, called his agent. It was Arn Tellen. Oh no, he doesn't want to do it. Why'd you commit to him? He doesn't want to do it. He sounds like a fool, and we sound foolish. Never did one hit. We had Dennis Rodman when I was at WMP. He showed up about 50% of the time. When he was on, he was pretty effing good.
Pretty good, huh?
Sometimes guys are into it, sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're good talker. In this business, is he a good talker? Is she a good talker? So you try to spread it around.
Who are some ones, since you've been in the business, that you, former athlete, who's one of your favorite guests to hear?
Like I said, Rodman was really good.
What was he? I mean, that's so far before my time. Was he he would just let it rip like we saw in The Last Dance, or what was?
Yeah, he was really, really good. And he, I forgot the guy's name. He lived with his manager. So if he didn't pick up the phone, we knew the manager would pick up, and he always, came to play in the morning. It's hard to remember over the years, but we've had a lot of, whether it's a manager or coach. I'll tell you what, David Ross is a class act. Last week he came in the station. It was before they went on the little winning streak. He came in early. He's a big country fan, so he wanted to see US 99, spend time with listeners, spend time with clients, and couldn't have been, a better guy. And we have a great relationship with him. Madden was great when he was here. Joe was outstanding. Ozzy and I have, known each other for years, and the family. He was always dependable and good. So it's interesting over the years, but you get to know these people, and it brings the audience closer to them.
Ozzy is the best.
He's awesome.
Ozzy's the man.
Yeah.
Well, were you super involved in that whole dispute he had? He fought with North a lot, right?
Oh, that was a classic morning. That was Cubs White Sox at Wrigley. AJ was on the air with North. AJ didn't agree where I think he either he wasn't starting or where he was in the batting order. Ozzy was driving to Wrigley, heard it, called in, talked to North, yelling back and forth, swore 2 or 3 times. Producer hit the dump button around 11-second delay, and it went viral, and it was just crazy. North, to his credit, got in the car. We were doing a live remote across what was it was a bar. They also had one like in Lincoln Park. I forgot. It was right across from Wrigley. North walked across the street to go see Ozzy in the clubhouse to talk it out, but that was classic.
Yeah.
That was Junior North. Don't talk to me like that, Junior. And North, the F-bomb right and left. That was a class. We call those score moments. Once in a while we'll have those. That was a score moment.
Yeah, that's got to be a top 10 score moment.
No
right?
doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. The Paxson North going back and forth when Scott Skiles wasn't getting a contract. That was another, North was calling out Bulls management and Pax for not he was calling Skiles out for not redoing his contract or signing his contract. Skiles called in. A day later, the deal got done.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that relationship, because that's something that has to be balanced, though. Because if you piss those guys off, then they take away access. How much of your job is smoothing over things like that?
A lot of times, we have rights agreements and partnerships again today with the Cubs and Bulls, and great relationships with both teams. We don't have rights agreements with the Bears or the White Sox or the Blackhawks, and sometimes it takes calls to try to smooth. And it's not always perfect. There are some teams that we have better relationships than others. So. But it's also with on-air hosts, I want them to give their opinions. I don't want them to hold back because, hey, we might not get access, but we have to be fair. And like I said from the start, we're in the opinion business, and our hosts are opinionists. I don't know if it's a word, but that's what they are.
It makes sense. People get it.
Mm-hmm.
But live rights, as far as live rights go, does it seem to do – you pay for them for a reason, so I guess they must help it to some degree. But how much? How much is it worth to be in that kind of game?
Well, I'll talk about the Cubs. And coming off this weekend, when Pat Hughes goes into the Hall of Fame, a very select group, baseball on the radio, I feel, is still special. Especially someone like Hughes and the Cubs. People love baseball on the radio. People love Cubs baseball on the radio. It's special in the summer, on a hot summer night, that they can listen to somebody they grew up listening to, or the voice of his, and someone like Ron Coomer as analyst, and Zach Zaidman. So I truly believe baseball on the radio is something special. And this is not a knock on any other sport, but football on the radio, you have so many other options. You can watch it at home, at a bar, at anywhere else. But there's something special about baseball on the radio. It's still great to watch it on TV or on a computer device. But turning baseball up on the radio, I think is really special. And then the Bulls, Chuck Swirsky, I mean, he calls a game excitement and puts energy into it. But I do think baseball on the radio is special. What do you think? Do you think baseball on the radio is special?
100%. I mean, that's Pat Hughes. That's just what, he's ingrained in my brain forever.
Right.
Just being on the 90 with my dad, and, just hearing, and strike three,
Right.
that's it. That's it. You're right. And then there's a big difference between 162 versus 20, we'll call it 17 for real. There's a big difference, and you could miss one of the 162, a bunch of them actually.
Correct.
Whereas football, you're usually front and center.
Right.
So, but I hear you for sure. Can you give me your best way to describe ratings? I think so many people hear about them, but not many people understand them. Which one do you care about the most? What is the sweet spot that you want to be on the top of?
Traditionally, it's a demographic of men between the ages of 25 and 54. That's what advertisers look to spend money. That's the sweet spot. And, that's our target demographic. And, now in a great way, you combine all different ways to come to that, whether it's, they call it OTA, over the air, through listening in your car, through all different streams, whether that's, digital streaming, audio streaming on the Odyssey app or any way. So that's a target demographic. Men 25, 54 is the target demographic of what people want to buy advertising on.
And those come out how often?
Weekly, quarterly, monthly, daily. You could see any way you want to look at it. It could drive you crazy, which it does.
What's your method? Like, how do you go about looking at it?
I'm neurotic, so I could look at methodology on a daily basis on our stream. You could look at methodology, meter. People wear what they call personal people meters. I look at that, every Sunday morning. Weeklies, you can look at rating. I could drive myself crazy.
I mean, it sounds like it. That's never ends.
Never ends. But it just gives me an indication where we're at. And at the end of the day, every performers, talent, producers they know when they've done a good show. Don't you know when you walk out of here? Hopefully you'll know when you walk out of here, hey, that was a good interview with Mitch, or Mitch was a horseshit interview.
Oh, you 1,000% know.
So at the end of the day, you know what's a good interview.
Totally.
And I don't have to look at the ratings when, if a host or producer knows, hey, we really had a great show today, or you know what, we screwed this up, or we forgot to do this or that. So, ratings are a good indicator, but at the end of the day, you really know you have a gut on how things are going.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes shit just doesn't translate like you think it would in certain aspects, right? Like you're like, oh, I love this. This will be,
right.
And people maybe don't find it as interesting. I find, but it's they're definitely a good indicator. You could at least feel good about what you put out.
Yeah, listen, it's good. It's good for our team. It's good, traditionally. Ratings are usually higher than our direct competitor, which is great. But again, at the end of the day, we know in our hearts and our guts that, how we do.
Yeah, but that's got to be, that's tough to just keep staring at those things every time. And it's like a scale almost. It's going up, it's going down.
Believe me, I know about that.
So that's a wild way to look at it. I also said, too, I was, talking to some of the guys before the interview. I would vouch to say that you probably have had your position and people in your field have had the most cups of coffee with people of, hey, my son just out of college. Can you talk to him? He wants to get in the business. What would you say that number is? If I said it at 150, I think that's too low.
That might be on the low. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't have internships anymore. That's sad. I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't have an internship. So that's sad that there are not a lot of internships anymore. The thing that, surprises me, even in this day and age, and anybody that calls, whether it's a client or a friend of a friend, hey, would you talk to Susie or Johnny? And I always do. The first thing I'll ask them, what do you know about our brand? What do you know about the Score brand? And I know within 30 seconds, if they've done their research, a thing called the internet, that they can look up our website. If they say, you carry the Cubs, they don't know. If they say, oh, Mully and Haw in the morning, Bernstein Homes middays, Parkins and Spiegel, Gabe Ramirez, then I know. But if they say, you carry the Cubs and the Bulls, once in a while, Mike North, he's been gone 15, 16 years. That really bugs me because then they haven't done the research. And I'll say, here's what I want you to do. Here's an assignment. Call me in a week. I want you to listen to the station. You don't have to listen all day. Listen a couple hours. Send me a couple paragraphs, and then come back to me. 50% of the time, and it sounds dickish, but I'm not going to waste my time if you don't invest your time. 50% of the time, they'll send me back an email with a couple paragraphs listening, or 50% of the time, I won't hear from them.
I could vouch for this because I interviewed with you in 2015.
Come on.
Do you remember that?
No.
Obviously didn't make a great impression, but I do remember that.
And was I a jerk?
No, you were cool, but you did exactly what I said. You said name the lineup. I got to the afternoon drive. I was ready to go up to Grobber, and you cut me off. You're like, all right, you got it.
Right.
Yeah. But you're right. I had it all through. That was when.
And do you think that's a dickish move if I said that to somebody?
Not at all. I'm there looking to be an employee. I should, and honestly, it's something that I do too. Like if we have someone in here and they interview with me and they're like, oh, I love Barstool, I love Part of My Take. It's like, totally. They're the kings. They're the biggest sports podcast in the country, but you're going to be working for me. Tell me a little about the dog walk and the mid show,
Right.
So it's I'm with you. I don't think that's dickish at all.
Right.
At all.
So
I sent you the paragraph, by the way, too.
Good. And
I should go find that.
What did I have open? What was the job?
It was a part-time producer.
I should have hired
It
you.
was a
But if I hired you, you might not be here today.
No, totally. Everything happens for a reason, for sure. For sure.
But I remember having coffee with you and the Chicago guys.
Yep.
And we had a great talk.
But my guy, too, so that was for an interview. But I think well, we don't need to get too into the weeds, but I had the coffee with, my dad works with someone whose family with the Castro.
Got it.
So I had my coffee with him, and that's when, I think that's when the game was still around, maybe. So he kind of showed me around there, and just like, and I sat there, I was like, man, I really appreciate this guy doing this for me because this must be endless.
But Eddie, I love talking to people. Like, A, you never know you could run across somebody like that. B, I wouldn't be here without an internship or things like that. So I'm a firm believer in giving back.
Yeah, and do you kind of agree with the method, like people want to help people out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Certain people do.
Yeah, certain people don't, though.
Right.
That's a thing. That's definitely a thing. Going back to shows and what you look for, and obviously opinions, and sticking to the basics, like you said. What do you find is most important, though? Is it your guest lineup? Is it a segment? What is something that you're like, we got to get these baked in, guys? Yeah,
it's not. You can't. I always say, don't just book to book. Every show is different. All shows don't have to be the same. Our morning show is successful. They might have more guests than the midday show. Midday show is personality based. They may have a couple more guests than Parkins and Spiegel. Parkins and Spiegel is more personality based, and they might only have one guest. So I think everything is different. Grobber was successful because he took calls all night and he was an encyclopedia. So, there's no right or, there are some stations, all we do is take calls, no guests. I think you kind of find a sweet spot, and all shows are created differently. So I think there's a difference in all what makes great content, and I think listeners gravitate to what they like.
I've heard a thought before that people think taking calls is lazy. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think today, not literally, but figuratively, today, the new form of interaction, it's changed. Like when the Score first signed on the air, it was calls, it was fax machines. Now, texting really has become the new caller. The 847 say the Bears suck. And it's all different social platforms. They communicate through Twitter and all that. So it's changed, man. We don't take a lot of calls. Now, on a Bears Monday after a Packers loss, phone lines are going to light up. But there's not a lot of calls. It's a different way to interact and communicate with the audience. So that interaction has changed.
So calls are just down.
Yeah, but that's no indication on the audience. Hosts over the years have said, oh, God, nobody's calling, nobody's listening. Less than 2% of the entire audience has ever called in, okay? So, a host can't do that. Now it's texting. Now, texting, can either be great or horrific. Some hosts, gets, bad text and it screws with his or her heads. Or you're the greatest thing. So, texting is virtual. It's right in front of you. You can see it. callers, half the callers never got to the host. The producer or screener will get it. So, who the hell knows? But that's a new way of interacting with the audience.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I hear that you read them out all the time. Shane, your smash burger sucks. Stuff
No,
like
don't.
that. I'm just kidding.
Don't get in his head about the food.
No, he does a great job.
Yeah.
He does a great job. What about ads? What's the correct amount of ads per hour? What would be ideal to you? What are you forced to do?
Yeah,
because obviously that's a big thing with terrestrial radio.
There's no force. I think right now we're at 15 minutes an hour, 16 maybe total, and that's a sweet spot. We try to take 3 breaks an hour. There's live reads in there. There's segment sponsors and things like that. So you try to find the right amount of commercials and things like that, and you make it work, and that's a kind of the sweet spot that we find. But it's a different world. You have a hotline sponsor. We have great partners and different hourly sponsorships. So it's a different world than it was 5 years ago, and you integrate. I say it's within the DNA of the radio station. So there's different sponsors for the hotline, for the listener line, the text line, and you just integrate that throughout your broadcast day.
Yeah. I guess it just feels like so much more.
Well, yeah. I mean, you try to do the best you can without...
And not you specifically. I'm just saying
everybody.
You know
yeah. I mean? I'm in here. I see dude wipes there. Yeah. I don't know if the water, body armor.
Water is very sponsored.
It's the way of the world. It's NASCAR, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. That's just like the Yankees just got a patch.
Right. Yeah. So how long before Chicago teams?
Yeah. No, for sure. What about what's the relationship like between those stations I brought up at the top, like WFAN? Like, how are you?
Really great. Yeah. The guy that's my position in FAN, great guy named Spike Eskin. We have great relationships. We have, meetings or calls, but, terrific relationships with the Odyssey sports stations. A guy in it's interesting. The guy that oversees the Boston market, a guy named Mike Thomas, used to run WMVP here, great guy. Now he's in Boston, and it's funny. We laugh a little bit about MVP, but he used to be here in Chicago.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I remember him.
Yeah.
What would you say is the hardest part of your job?
I care a lot about our brand. I care about the people. It's just the different challenges. Every day, you wake up and you don't know what the challenges are going to be. Today was a great day. It's not over yet, but today was a great day. I, woke up raring to go. We coming off a Hall of Fame weekend, and it was a fun day. It's just the unexpected. I don't know about challenges. I still love what I do every day. It's creating content. Like you said at the start, I love that the company believed in me and gave me extra responsibilities. I also work close with a network called the BetQL Network. So I talk to people around the country every day. I have people I work with in different markets. Those are the kind of things that are great. And just finding time, to talk and sit down with people. I feel in this day and age, it's all about Zoom. I like human interaction. And I like coming in every day. When COVID happened 2 weeks in, I was in the station. I couldn't see having producers be in and I be sitting at home. I love coming in, and I love the human interaction element.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I mean, obviously, you care so much about the brand when you got to let people go and whatnot. That's always the worst part for a boss.
Correct.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but it's a little different for you though, because these guys are public and everyone's got an opinion. How have you dealt with that as things have moved on? You read a lot. Do you turn it off?
Listen, it's hard for me to turn it off.
Okay.
I look at social media. I look at Twitter too much. But even a guy like McNeil, where he did something stupid and had no choice but to do what we did, I still talk to him once in a while. There are relationships that are done for good, but there are relationships like with him that, we still have a relationship going. But it's difficult to keep up with everybody. But yeah, it's tough when you let somebody go and you try to keep a relationship, because I understand the bitterness, and it's not easy on their part. It's not about me, and it's about them. And there's some people, you try to help. land something else in other gigs.
Was it tough, since you named a name, and was it tough to let North go? How was that whole?
We didn't let North go. We made him an offer, and he refused to take an offer. So,
well, part ways, I should say. Not come to an agreement, I should say.
Yeah, that was tough because he was a founding father of the radio station. He was extremely important, and it was tough. But that being said, Mully and Hanley at the time took over and did great. Ratings did great. Station pivoted, and we didn't look back. But at the time, did I say to myself, how are we going to recover? How's the station going to move on without North? What's going to happen? Yeah, it was challenging at the time. And I call it like being in the hurricane. When we have major issues like that, we're in this hurricane. How are we going to get out? And we usually get out. And that was definitely a big hurricane, and it was extremely hard. But the station did great moving forward with Mully and Hanley.
It was a scary day, huh?
Yeah, it was a scary. Remember, we were in the station manager's office, Rod Zimmerman at the time, and Mike was there with his brother-in-law, Park Ridge Kenny, at the time, and it was a contentious meeting.
Park Ridge Kenny.
You remember that name?
No, I don't. That sounds great.
And it was a contentious meeting, and we made Mike an offer. He didn't like it and left, but... yeah, those are tough days. Very very hard days for everybody.
Are you guys on okay terms though?
Yeah, we text once in a while, and we invited him to the anniversary party. But he said, he does a show at WMVP, so he didn't come. But yeah, once in a while we shoot a text to each other.
Yeah. Hey, you put him on the Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
That was for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of the old days, and going back to former athletes, the 85 Bears poll, is it still as strong as ever, or is it starting to wane down a little bit? It's been so long.
Yeah, I think there will be never a team like that, never characters like that.
Yeah.
But they're still very popular. But I think as they get older, consumers get older. Like, I have a 23-year-old son. I don't know if he could name 10 people from that team, unfortunately. I mean, Hamp still does stuff media-wise in town. I don't know. There aren't many, people left from that team, unfortunately, that are visible in the media. So, you have to find new people. Like I brought up Olin. Olin is a rock star.
He's great.
People love him. And you see others. And people, so I'm not sure how many people from the 85 Bears are extremely popular media-wise that people say, I have to hear what this person has to say. I'll tell you one person that is a much better, and I think he'd admit this, much more popular as a media person than he was as a coach, and that's Wani. How about Wani?
Totally.
Have you ever had him on?
Yes, he sat right in that seat, and he was
What'd
awesome.
you think?
He was amazing. He's amazing, and he's amazing on your show.
Yeah, don't you agree in a weird way that he's more popular as a media person than he was as a head coach of the Bears?
1,000%. I mean, that was late 90s. I was pretty young, but there wasn't many kind words about Dave Wannstedt back in those days. But now it's like he's like everyone's uncle.
Right.
He's just your uncle, and he's really good.
Right.
But it's kind of the mid-2000s Bears, that Super Bowl team kind of carved out a nice niche, right? I mean, Alex Brown, Olin, like you said, Briggs does some media. Obviously, everyone loves to have Jay on. They've done a good job of kind of.
I bet Urlacher will start doing more.
Yeah, I think so, probably. But yeah, what about do you foresee the 2016 Cubs having that same kind of pull in the future?
Maybe. Who would be, as we like to say, who would be great talkers off that team? Madden definitely is a good talker. Bryant wasn't a great talker, and full disclosure, he did weekly hits with us. Good guy, not a great talker. Rizzo's a character, right? Who am I forgetting?
Ross, obviously.
Yeah.
But you named him before.
And by the way, he did a morning show hit with us, and he was great. One of the best call-ins he did was he called in when they got off the bus, when they got back to Wrigley after coming in from Cleveland, and he was walking, through the bars in Wrigleyville that morning, and it was fantastic. So, he was terrific.
Maybe Dex. I haven't heard from him much, though.
Well, he's on Marquee. I think he does a nice job.
Okay. Good. But no, we've had Brian. He's a great guy, but I get what you're saying. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out.
Yeah,
if they're
agree.
going to own the town, like.
Yeah, at a 10-year in 2026, what will the 10-year reunion be like?
Yeah, but my take, I actually said this last week. I think, like, White Sox Dave's always yammering on about how it's brutal, how baseball hasn't found their Manning cast. They haven't got two guys together to do that whole thing. And I just kind of think, especially today's day and age, baseball players they're kind of boring, a lot of them. Like, it's different. You're in this era where, those kids wore those gravity necklaces and shit like that, and it's just not, the George Bretts of old are not really as prevalent. It might be a hot take. I might get in trouble for that, but that's my take.
You're right. Who are the characters that, Trout is an all-star, but is he a character?
Yeah.
Ozzie was.
Ozzie, yeah.
It's an interesting question,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just that era has grown up, and they're the guys now.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was told to ask about your coffee intake.
I'm nuts. I'm very methodical in my ways. The Starbucks by my house opens 5 minutes early for me at 5 to 5 a.m.
Stop, really?
6 shots over ice, medium plastic cup, 1 Splenda, no extra ice. And then around 11 or noon, I get 4 more shots in a small plastic cup with 1 Splenda, no extra ice. So total of 10 shots a day.
Holy shit.
Start to fade around 8:30 or 9 at night.
Okay, and you go to bed around then?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If you ask me anything after 8 p.m., the answer would probably be yes, because I'm pretty mushy by then.
So that's when everyone's hitting you up?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's kind of all like the list of radio talk I had, but is there anything kind of when you look back, like those score moments, like athlete interactions, like what really, because I'm sure you get that shit all the time.
Not athlete, some sad moments, I don't want to bring it down, but Doug Buffone was a true score person. Mm-hmm. The day he died was very sad. His wife worked in sales, and she came running by, and Doug and I were extremely close, and she came running by my office yelling, Doug's not waking up. They had 2 daughters at home in college, and they were home. And I was about 10 minutes behind her, and they lived by UIC, which is kind of the near west side of the city in Chicago. And by the time I got there, she came running out that he had passed away. That was a very sad score moment. And then a couple of years ago when the Grobber died, he had been sick and never missed shows, and we had talked, and it was cold, and then he was missing shows, and his girlfriend Kathy called me crying, yelling, Les is dead, Les is dead. And that was a very, very sad time for the score and our listeners. So it shows you how popular our brand is and how people react. And I always say this, that our listeners, I say this to our on-air hosts a lot, our listeners know you. Hundreds of thousands of people know our hosts, but you hardly know any of them. So think about that, so many people watch and listen to you and know you, but you don't know all these people. So think about that when you're broadcasting and how popular this brand really is. And I said, I think it's an iconic Chicago sports brand. Totally. And, we continue to grow and evolve with the times. And it's because of the people that work there. It's because of the hard work that producers put in every day, and social media people and hosts and everybody. And I'm proud to, be there and work there with everybody. And again, I love what I do. I've been there a long time, and it's fun. I still enjoy what I do every day.
How many innings we got left in the arm?
I don't know. Some days, I think not many, but other days, as long, Eddie, as long as they want me, and I know this sounds geeky, but as long as they want me and I still, have the energy and the firepower to do it, I get up crazy at 3 a.m. every day and, go through email and excited to go in and do what I do, I love it. If they don't want me anymore, then I'll go do something else.
So as long as that Starbucks opens 5 minutes early for you, huh?
As long as Nancy is there and the drink is ready, and I'll be ready to go.
Were there any other oh shit moments that were public at the studio? Kind of was like,
Well, Les shit his pants one day. You know about that, right?
I know about that story.
TMZ.
Can you go into it a little bit?
Well, it was public, and I was on vacation in Florida, and I slept in, and I turned my phone on, and my boss, Rod Zimmerman at the time, who was in TMZ, Mitch, what the hell happened in the studio? I go, Rod, I'm on vacation, and Les had an accident, so that was a rough one. No, just, it's sports radio, stuff happens along the way, and you just deal with everything differently. But we have a great team, and we have fun, and at the end of the day, we just want to create great content for our audience and have people interact with us, and
no Artie attacking Teddy moments or nothing like that, huh?
Artie,
you listen to Stern a little bit. Remember when he attacked the guy shit like that?
Yeah, no, not. What is Artie doing these days?
I know he was in rehab.
Mm-hmm.
I know I saw a video of him a couple years ago of him on a garbage truck, doing some public service and whatnot. I've heard he's not doing great, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's so much history in this town of radio. I mean, you think about it.
For sure.
From the Loop to GN, everywhere else. It's a pretty cool media town. One other quick thing. In LA, it's actors and actresses, but I think in this town, the public looks at the media, on-air hosts, TV people, sportscasters, and whether it's Layla or other people and newscast. That's Chicago's celebrities and what you guys do and others. So I think people look in this town as media people, celebrities, different than other towns. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, that's why it was a shame when Feeder closed up shop, huh?
Right. There's no one to report it, really.
Yeah, there's no one. There's. I mean, people want to get into the business. There's an opening.
Yeah.
If you could do a good job with that, there's definitely an opening there. But all right then, Mitch, I enjoyed talking to you today.
Yeah, me too, Eddie. I'm proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished for this brand, and good luck with the move.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. That's it for today. That's it for this week. We'll see you guys on Monday.